good evening, and welcome to this Sunday, December 20th edition of the Untitled Football Show. Joining me is Maceo Dill and Keita Robinson. I'm Earl Baston, and unfortunately, Garrett Punchy Dill and our good friend Danica are both unwell this evening, so they won't be joining us. But I bet you any money they're tuned in, because I know Punch is tuned in because he wants to hear what these two have to say about their team's performance today over in the UK. My TV didn't work too well, so Keita, you're claiming that Uncle Punchy isn't ill. Well, he is ill. He's ill from that 6-2 drubbing.
Correct. You don't want to have that conversation today.
What's that?
He doesn't want to have that conversation today.
Well, listen, it's better to face it today and get it over and done with than wait till tomorrow and, it's all thought about and crafted different ways. So deal with your defeats when they happen, as opposed to, later down the line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let them marinate. The league's coaches are now learning English. It's time to learn English now.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, but I guess the biggest,
the league's coaches, it's time to learn English.
Yeah,
now.
The biggest shocker would have to be the fact that Watford's coach has up and left the club after a 2-0 defeat, sitting in 5th place in the championship after they lost yesterday. So right now the club is in a bit of disarray because the whole coaching staff has departed. So Lord knows how they'll get along. But obviously Kane Critchlow is involved in that setup with the under-23s, and he has spent time on the bench with the senior team and has moved into actually played in the European qualifiers. So very interesting time for them. But we were due to have a Bournemouth scout join us this evening, but unfortunately he can't make it. But we do have Remy Coddington. Remy is a member of West Ham United, currently playing in the under-18 division. Good evening, Remy. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. I'm fine, thank you.
Good to see you. Obviously, with COVID, things are a little different at the club right now, would you say?
Yeah, very different, yes.
How challenging is it day to day at the club?
Well, it's not challenging, to be fair. I just, like, when you love the game, you just love the game. So, like, you just show up to work every day trying to be your best self.
Yeah, and obviously everybody else around treats it as normal. But outside of the I guess football arena of what you guys are involved in, how do you guys manage, or how do you manage that? Because you really don't want to or can't come into contact with too many people outside the circle of the football family. Is that correct?
Yeah, you have to be very disciplined, to be fair. Yeah, you have a certain time you have to be out, and you have to be back at for me, for example, at my digs. So I have to be home at a certain time so I don't be mixing with everyone else.
Yeah, and well, you've been away for quite some time, but how have you adjusted to life, how it used to be post-COVID to how it is now?
Yeah, actually it's quite different. Yeah, you have to be more responsible about everything because you don't want to miss game time because of a stupid thing like COVID. Like, just because you're ill, like, you want to be always available for the coach for selection.
Yeah, you guys have had an up and down season. Struggle here, pick up a big win here. What has been the mood like in the camp with so many different results coming out?
Yeah, it's been good, but also you get times where it's not very good when the coach is not happy with the team, because sometimes we should win games that we draw games that we should win. So it's up and down, but we have had some good results that put us in a nice place for the turn of the year for next.
Yeah. So I've got Maceo Dill and Coach Keita Robinson with me. Maceo, any questions for Remy?
Remy Tay.
Yes, I'm good, man.
How you doing, Remy?
I'm good.
Why? So I have a question for you. What would you say? I mean, you're left this country at 11 years old. to pursue a football ambition. What would you say is the difference to what you experienced at your first stop, which was Bournemouth, as to what you was experiencing here in Bermuda?
Oh, well, in Bermuda is more, I feel like it's more about you as an individual. So in Bermuda is about your goals, your assists, your skill. I feel like in Bournemouth is more about team and like how much you run for the team, how much you're willing to work for your team to get a win. It's not about me, I guess.
Yeah. So with that said, now you moved into West Ham. Are you experiencing a difference between what it was like at Bournemouth versus West Ham? Is there a difference?
Yes, very, yeah. Not just in quality, but also in like cutthroat. I call it like cutthroat. So Bournemouth, you might be able to make a few mistakes. At West Ham, no mistakes. You make one mistake, you get punished. You make one mistake, the ball's in the back of your net, or is a corner to the other team. Bournemouth, you may get away with a few, but at West Ham, immediately you get punished.
Unmute Coach Keita.
So
Unmute Coach Keita.
Yeah, sorry, it's just moving secure along. Hey, Rami, how you doing, buddy?
You're right.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
For me, is always the question: what is your training schedule? What is your training / game schedule on weekly? Because what is your training schedule like?
We train every day except for Wednesdays. Wednesdays is our education day, but like you still are allowed to go out and do extra. So literally every day. And then you have midweek games. So sometimes on Wednesday we don't have education. We have a midweek game and like a cup fixture of some sort. So it's every day.
So and every day is it multiple times a day, or is it a set time that you train?
It's always you always train. You always go out at 11:15. That's the training time. But then sometimes you have second sessions. So like the coach would say, today we need to work on set pieces or like our jobs. So like if I'm the corner taker, so sometimes that session will be at 3, and then we won't finish until maybe 5. But yeah, it's multiple sessions, or it might be one. Depends on the coach feels.
And do you have a gym day, or is that on your own time? Like, is that built in where you have like team gym days, or you have to just find the time to do that?
It's a bit of both, actually. Yeah. So on Wednesday is your gym day, apart from as well as education. So you do gym, and then sometimes, like say, for example, you want to get a bigger upper body. You just speak to the gym. Say, yeah, can I come in at this so and so time? So if you want to come in at 2 after lunch, you just say, yeah, I'm looking to come after lunch, get a gym session in.
What would you say once you arrived at West Ham, they wanted to improve in your game?
I would say my strength, yeah.
Where did they think you were lacking? Just on the ball, or just all around?
No. I would say my upper body strength. Like I need to get stronger. So sometimes I will get pushed off the ball because they're more like physically developed than me. So they just want me to work on my upper body strength all the time.
Now, is that something totally new to you? Because obviously coming from Bermuda as a youngster, you're playing one style. You go to Bournemouth, you're playing another style. Move on to West Ham, and here's something totally different.
Yeah.
How has your game matured around the fact that now you're playing with bigger, stronger guys that you have to adjust?
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. You just have to play quicker. Your mind has to think quicker. You have to see pictures quicker. So everything has to be done like that. Like whereas you may have more time at Bournemouth or even more time in Bermuda to see a picture.
Yeah. What do you like about being at the West Ham setup?
I love the pressure like that comes along with it. It's just you have to play good, or you might be out the team for a few games, 3 games, or like and how everyone wants to be the best. Everyone wants to be the best at their position. There's no one that wants to be second best. Everyone wants to be the best.
Yeah, I think Maceo has another question.
Let's have an interesting, Remy. Understanding your journey. Your parents have made huge sacrifices for you to pursue your ambitions in football. With your papa being out there 2 years and your dad being out there with you as well. Does this sacrifices motivate you, or do those sacrifices provide pressure for you?
Yeah, it does a bit of both. Actually, yeah, because you never wanna let down your parents, as everyone would say. You don't wanna let down your parents, and also the pressure, because like to be a good footballer, you have to have pressure. I think, like, to be an excellent footballer or to be where you want to get to, you have to have pressure. Like, you can't become what you want to be without pressure. So, and the motivation should come along with it anyway. You shouldn't need like your parents to motivate you. You should be waking up every day saying, "I want to be the best." So that's what I think.
For me, Remy, what are your strengths? Like, what are the things that they like about you at West Ham?
I would say my dribbling mainly. Yeah, dribbling, and uh, I would say some of my set pieces like corners, free kicks. Yeah. So
Remy, you walk the halls of a place that holds near and dear to a lot of Bermudians because Clyde Best came before you in those hallways. But when you walk around the West Ham Stadium, the West Ham campus, and all, do you feel as if the pressures of what that team has done years ago still kind of holds true to today in the whole setup, whether it be the first team right down to the youth teams?
yeah, it's a bit of that, because at the training ground is all pictures of all the best players, like all the players that came through the system. So it's always like a bit of pressure, like you wanted to live up to them. So yeah, it's always a bit of pressure.
Yeah, and obviously with the coaching setup, how does it vary when you kind of do you all train together? When I say all train together, do the under-23s and the under-18s mix together at times?
Well, yeah, sometimes we actually do. So sometimes, say if the under-23s especially have a big game coming up, they will just take all the under-18s and play 11v11 against us. So the team that's going to play gets a feel for each other. Because, like, as you know, like, under-23 is the last like stage of development, I would say. So sometimes under-23s will be with the first team for like 3 months, and then they come back to the under-23s and they're not used to playing with certain players. So sometimes the 18s will just go 11v11, so they get used to playing with each other again.
Is it a battle of Bermudians on the field with you and Nathan?
Yeah. Nah. Yeah, maybe.
You're trying to school as the under-18. He's trying to stop you as the under-23.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Remy Tay, we know that we also have Nathan Trott at West Ham. Has he been as him being another Bermudian being at West Ham, has that been helpful for you? And do you interact with Nathan a lot?
Yeah. I see Nathan a lot around the training ground. Yeah, we speak. Yeah. He talks to me a lot about just keep focused, like it's just stuff like that. Just little pieces just for me to look up to him as. Yeah. Nothing much, like just stay focused basically.
Yeah. Well, before we get back to you, Coach Keita, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to have more with Remy Cuttington here on Island Stats Football Show.
We've already sung the praises of Welch's famous grape juice, so healthful and refreshing, a truly great family favorite. So with the festive season fast approaching, remember to stock up on Welch's sparkling juice cocktails, flavorful and thirst-quenching, another celebration of the greatness of the grape. The Welch's White, Red, and Rosé are all wonderful on their own, but for a special seasonal treat, try Welch's sparkling juice cocktail in festive punch recipes, garnished with cinnamon sticks or fresh cranberries. All non-alcoholic and also festive. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Welcome back again. We're joined with Remy Cuttington. Coach Keita, you had another question?
Yeah. Do you get to spend any time in and around the senior team, the first team players? And if so, what is that like?
Unfortunately, not. Like, you don't really see them a lot because we're like two different complexes from them. So not really. You never really see them train.
Well, with the under-23 team, obviously you guys got a chance to play up at times or train up at times.
Yeah.
What are some of the things when you guys are training up, the coaches are telling you, because your next step is into that under-23 team? So what are those coaches saying to you if you ever interact with them?
It's just the same. It's just the same. It's just this desires that's always there. It's just, yeah. You just want to stay the same. Like, you just keep going. It's not really very much different. It's still the same philosophy. They still coach the same. It's just that the players, however, it's just they are way more demanding. Like they don't want no mistakes. It's very demanding. They want you to run. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, Remy, what would you think in this pathway, what you've been exposed to now? What do you think that we need to do better in Bermuda to help prepare more players for these type of opportunities?
It's a very good question. I feel like it's like sometimes in Bermuda, I'm not saying it's always, but sometimes in Bermuda, it's only about winning. So like everything, oh, I have to win this game. I have to win this game. Sometimes you should be putting players like, for example, Uncle Mace used to tell me this when I was younger. Like I used to be always striker scoring all the goals, but sometimes you would tell me if you was my coach, you play me left back. Sometimes it's good to do stuff like that because then like you get to see different games from different perspectives. Like it's not always about you. It's about team. So you see stuff from different perspectives.
Let me ask you this: how long did it take for you to understand that?
Oh, yes.
You don't understand it yet. He still wants to school.
You understand it? You understand it?
He's still get.
One of the things that you have to realize is that when people show you other things, it might not happen right away, but eventually, as you get into it, it kind of grows on you. If you were able to talk to the guys around your circle, because obviously, although you've been out of Bermuda for quite some time, you still probably associate with quite a few guys. But what's some of the talk around your mates back in Bermuda whilst you're out there?
They just tell me like keep going. Enough. Yeah, they just tell me keep going. They just like to be updated on what we do. Yeah, it's like it's not really much. You just keep going.
And final question for you.
So Remy.
Good, Maceo. Well, final question for you.
Yeah, I'm just lost. Yeah.
Remy, when you look at as Maceo asked you earlier, I want you to add a little more to it. But when you're considering or in talks with family about moving abroad, how much of what the person that got you to move abroad told you was reality once you got there, and what you needed to do in Bermuda to be prepared for that move?
Yeah. It is like when people tell you need to get stronger, you really need to get stronger. Like it's no joke. Like the game's way quicker than it is in Bermuda. Like, and your mind always has to be ticking. You can't get bored. Like the little stuff. Like sometimes I used to remember in Bermuda, like just passing, I would get bored of it. I would try to dribble, but you can't get bored of stuff like that because then when you start losing the ball, the coach takes you off, and then you stay on the bench for 3 games because you might have been a cause of a goal. So. Yeah, so you just need to keep like I would say when you move to England or if you're moving abroad, I would feel like you just have to keep doing these simple stuff. Like you might get bored of it just weak foot. Because I remember Aunt Kitty used to always tell me like you need to work on your right foot. And I just learned that yesterday. I need to work on my right foot yesterday. But I should have I would recommend just weak foot. Because your weak foot you're gonna need when you go to England because players will realize, okay, he's left footed. I'm gonna only send him right. So then when you send you right, then you have a bad game for the whole game because you're not good at using your right. So little stuff like that.
Okay. Any final question, Mason?
One last question for me. Yeah. You spent a lot of time in Bournemouth with Johnny Bartu. He's just made his debut. How does that make you feel with you guys on this journey together, man? Isn't that a great thing for Johnny?
Yeah, I was telling him I'm so proud of him. Like he deserves it. He puts a lot of work into what he wants to do. He deserves it. Yeah. And it actually motivates me to want to get better because me and him we've been friends since I can remember. So when something great like that happens, I just want to be like, wow, like that motivates me as well. Like, yeah.
Yeah, Remy, for me, just
and how
very
do
proud of
do
you.
with that responsibility that Bermuda is watching you?
Pardon, I couldn't hear you, Uncle Mace.
You're breaking up something. Oh, Okay. No, just that, you put in some work. I know the commitment that you have put in, and very proud of you, and I can't wait to see you, especially wearing the pink and blue, and representing Bermuda. But keep working, keep making us, your family, and Bermuda proud. Can't wait. You're gonna get your turn, just like Donnie got his. Your turn's gonna come as well. So stay
Yeah.
encouraged, buddy, and keep.
Thank you.
All right.
And that 1v1's coming up. Me and you in my yard.
All right. Okay.
Don't let it do. Be embarrassed today, your boy. Hey, Remy, one little thing.
Remy,
War
he
is
just
a-
wants to say
war is part of your
he had a one-on-one with you. It's going to take him about 2 hours to win one of those 1v1s, and then he'll talk about it for the rest of the night.
But he's not.
Today I thought it was easy too.
I'm gonna move him up the ranking. Right now, he's the 5th best Jennings. I'm gonna move him up the ranking if he can beat me. They thought it was easy. Yeah, he did think it was easy to beat me one-on-one.
They
It
thought
didn't
it was
happen.
easy. Remy, just
But-
remember,
I'm
the
gonna move you
war
up the
is part of
rankings
your
if
team.
you can beat me.
Today
Okay.
I didn't realize the war was part of his team. That's what got him.
But he's not gonna do that to me.
All right, Remy. Well, good seeing you. Stay strong, stay positive, stay well. I know you've got a lot of journey to still go through. So we want to wish you all the best. Season's greetings, and we wish you all the best. All right.
Christmas, everyone.
Okay. We're gonna take another commercial break. We'll be back with more of the Islandstead Football Show.
Coconut oil has been popular here in Bermuda as a skin moisturizer for generations, but is sometimes avoided in cookery because of its unhealthy reputation. We've witnessed a change in attitudes as recent findings indicate that coconut oil is actually heart healthy and can enhance our immune systems, increase metabolism, energy and endurance, and improve digestion. Nutiva coconut oil is a superfood in its own right, and this month we're featuring Nutiva organic shortening made with organic coconut and red palm oils and also hemp seed oil. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back. We're soon going to be joined by Najai Tucker, who is playing his trade at Burnley. They're under 23 team. But before we get to him, just listening to someone like Remy, you see a lot of Bermudians, young Bermudians out taking up the opportunity and the sacrifices from their parents and from their family to kind of take this opportunity with both hands. And it's good to see. And it's also encouraging for others who might be knocking on that door and giving faith to their families to say, yeah, let's try it and let's see what we can get out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
No, it is exactly. Yeah, exactly right. It's.
I think Macy is
Okay, Akita.
he's not. You can't hear me, Mace?
Yeah, Akita. Later.
The same thing, if you look at a Kenny Thompson. Yeah, a Kenny Thompson, on the female side, the same thing, right? Her mom up and went, and she's doing fantastic things at I believe she's still at Deportivo, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
right now,
so,
but still there, yeah.
Yeah, and so it makes that much of a difference. I seen videos of her and some of the things that she's able to do, and I'm like, wow, but to have been immersed, and this was part of our conversation last week. Part of the conversation we had last week of players getting out of Bermuda and just being immersed and just that football in life. That's why I'm always interested in knowing what is a week in football look like. Because I'll be honest with you, I honestly wish that I could have my girls 5 days a week. I really do. There's so many things that you can accomplish. But it's just so exciting to see so many young people, and I'm sure Remy has inspired. He's still an under 17, isn't he? He's still part of the under 17 men's national team. Yes.
Oh, national team. Yes. Yeah.
The national team is under 17s, right? So that's young. So that there's a lot of boys that's still on the island, in that group, and not many of them are at UK or professional clubs. Maybe at boarding school. So it bodes well for Bermuda. This situation is very well for Bermuda.
Mace, any comments before we go to the job?
Yeah, man, I mean, I've traveled the world in football, and I realized in traveling to different places how much talent our Bermudian kids have. And I use the term up to like 10 years old before they need another experience to keep growing them. And what we have to do here is structure ourselves that they can get that experience here to 16, that they can be on top because the talent's here. We have to figure out how to keep them developing, past 10 years old. And it's now realistic that football is a pathway for these kids to grow. And it doesn't have to be professional in the in the UK, but the schooling situation and different stuff. It is a pathway for people to become a good citizen and a productive person to their family and society.
Yeah. And as I said, we're going to be joined. First of all, good evening, Najai. How are you?
Oh, hello. Good. I'm good. How are you?
Tell us how life is in Burnley. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. What is life like in
PB.
Burnley at this time?
At this time, December is cold. It snows. It's up north. Up north, it's cold every single day. It rains every day. It's
And
tough.
about how are you adjusting to it?
Well, I've been out here a long time, so
Yeah.
I'm sort of used to it, but it's still cool to me. I still don't like it.
Now you're in the Burnley setup for the under 23s. The next step is into that senior men's the first team.
Yeah.
But what is because I know Keita asked Remy this earlier, but what is a day like of training for you guys at the beginning of the week?
Beginning of the week. So Monday, well, under 23 schedule is different. Monday we have games. So
Games, yes.
Monday. But if it was no game Monday, we'll make 9 a.m. Get in for 9, get changed, go up, eat breakfast, come back down, go straight into the gym, and we have weights. And then after weights, we have training around 11 o'clock. Come in from training, eat, finish eating, have a little break, and we'll go back in the gym. Or we'll have another session. We'll do like analysis, something else, just something, whatever they put on. And then we'll leave, say, around 4 o'clock. So from 9 a.m. to 4 o'clock, we'll be in all day.
Yeah. What are some of the things that you needed to work on when you arrived? Because, like you say, you've been there some time, but obviously you would always remember when you first arrived in a setup such as that. And what was one of the things you needed to improve on to kind of settle into the setup?
Before, it was just like, it wasn't an everyday thing. So once you transfer into professional football, it becomes a routine. So like every single day you come in. Before, it's like you just put training after school, like kids used to. And it's kind of like you go training every other day or something, so it's not really the same. But you just have to get used to being in a routine and getting used to structuring your day and doing everything every single day. It's kind of repetitive.
Mm. Any question, Messiah?
Most definitely. How you doing, PV?
Fine, how are you?
Just for the general public, yeah, I nicknamed the guy the PV because he likes every ball and he wants to have every ball to be played to, and he demands the ball. That's the type of player he is. So I called him PV. And just a bit of history on the guy for the Bermuda. I mean, he started his football at North Village. He went on to at that time Valencia over at Solters. He's played football in Spain. His family picked up and left Bermuda, where he spent 2 seasons at Man City, and now he finds himself at Burnley. So he's got quite a experienced football history for 18-year-old. Najai, what I would ask you, do you think at this point in time in your development that you're ready for the national team, the senior national team, Bermuda?
Uh, International is always a bit. It's like a next step. It's like the biggest stage in football, if you would say. Um, I can compete technically, yes, either, but with the physical side and like maybe that would be like a bit of the downfall. But technically and mentally, like with the football, I'll be up to speed.
Coach Keita?
Yes, good evening, Jai. How are you? My question for you is has how can I word this? Being over that side, how has that helped you grow as a footballer, not just physically but mentally? Being over there as opposed to playing here locally.
Um, it big culture shock. Really, it is. It changes like the way you think about everything, the way you think about life. It's like, well, because I came here so early, I've adapted. I've adapted from a young age, and I've kind of grew into it, like all the other boys would have done that's already living here. So I've kind of delved in, but it's compared to Bermuda. Bermuda's like, uh, it's soft compared to out here. It's soft. Like the football and everything is soft. Out here, everyone's like, it's rough, it's quick, it's hard, it's like tempo is high, it's just intense, like everything. Everything that you do, like every single thing in the gym, everything. You just have to be sharp with like everything. And Bermuda is a bit like laid back, because you know how us Bermuda are. You know, we just coast around, we just do everything at the time. But
I'm sorry, I had a two-part. So when you speak about us being laid back and things, so when you are involved with the national team, which I'm assuming you have been, do you bring that, let's go, we need to work hard, or do you find yourself acclimatizing back to the Bermuda style or Bermuda way? How do you now bring that energy? And then the second part of it is, do you think that the laid backness in Bermuda is a test or is because of entitlement? Whereas then everybody out there is fighting for spots. And here is like, well, I'm gonna get picked. I know I'm gonna get picked. So the first question is, what do you bring back if you're a part of this setup? And then why do you think it's so laid back?
when I come back with the national squad, it's a bit of both. I'm not, I'm not as on it like 100% as I would be if I was in my normal team. I'm more relaxed and like I can like breathe and just group, get together with the group because I haven't seen them in a while. So it's more like having fun at the same time, but still being serious about it because you obviously want to win. So it's not like you just let yourself go and then go back to old ways. You still have to. Well, me personally, I still want to win, always want to win. So I never just like let it go as if it doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
But what was that?
The second part was why do you think it's such a big difference in Bermuda being laid back and out there being rough
Hey,
and hard?
you know that you're gonna get picked. You get comfortable. But out here, you can't be complacent at any. It's just, football changes so quickly, so you never know what's gonna happen. You never know what the coach is gonna do. Like it's so many factors, so many obstacles that anything can change. You never know what's gonna happen. As in Bermuda, if you're like Bermuda, say you and your friends play for the same team, you know that you're all gonna play with your friends, so you just have fun with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How long did it take for you to adjust that mindset as a youngster? Because obviously, if you played in Bermuda, you just said it, you get comfortable with playing with your ace boys, you just have to put in half, because you're talented, you only have to put in half the effort in training. But how quickly did you have to adjust to that once you arrived?
Yeah, well, because when I was at City, it's like you know how City play. It's like the most intense team ever. They're like energy there and energy levels is so high. So I did have a little bit of Bermuda like slow, comfortable, but when you start to realize that everyone else is like on it, pace, everything's after in order to fit in, obviously look out of place. You have to get up to speed quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And now that you're like that, what are some of the conversations you're
So,
having with friends back at home of what they would need to do if they want to emulate something that you're doing?
Yeah, they just have to keep going and work hard. But if they are still in Bermuda and my age, and you're trying to come out here now, it's very, very difficult. Like very difficult. Chances are like it's like no chance. You have to be in and around sort of first team by the age of 20, 21 max in order to have a chance of making it. I'm not saying that you would never make it because look, you see people like Jamie Vardy, he made it in his whole, but it's a very, very low chance.
Mm. What is the atmosphere like around the club now, especially in the first team? They're near the bottom. Things are not looking very well. They managed to save off and relegation last year, but what is the atmosphere like at the club?
Well, the club Burnley, they're a tight group. They will fight to the end. They will never give up. So no matter how hard it gets for them, they'll all just get together and they'll always have each other's backs and just keep going until the end. They will never throw out. They'll keep working, keep working.
Is that like that at in the division you're in, the Division Two, Premier League Two?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mace?
Our we follow the first team. So we we train with the first
yeah.
team.
Right.
They base. So it's like we're all mixed,
So,
like same.
Yeah, yeah. Finish off.
We're all mixed in the group. So
so,
we they do. So all in locked with each other. Same right through us, and we follow their footsteps.
Okay, Mace, you're on, Mace.
yeah, Jai. So I've worked with you from a young age, and I had this conversation with you about athletes that are on the edge. And what I mean by athletes that are on the edge is those are match winners, like top athletes, top performers are match winners, and definitely you won a lot of matches for me. And managing you on the edge. I can actually remember one time begging your parents to put you off a punishment when you was about 8 years old to play.
But yeah,
Yeah. How what's it? You remember that? You remember at come your house and plead to your mom and daddy to let you play? But what I want to ask about that, how are you manage yourself, and how you have you adjusted to that piece of being on the edge and being a match winner, and how do they manage that whipping you out there?
it's at a younger age you can get away with it, but as you get older, if you're say you're a really good player, you like okay, if you're like Messi and Ronaldo, you're gonna play. But if you're like a really, really good talented player and you don't say you get in trouble, I was like I did back in the day, you're not gonna play. They'll play someone else over you straight away. Because they go for people who they can trust. And if they can't trust you to be available to be in the team every week, then they're not gonna play. They just find someone else. And if you're not working hard 24/7, if you slack off a little bit, they'll pick someone else that'll work hard 24/7. Even if you are the most talented player ever, they will find someone else to replace you.
Keita?
Kyle Lightborn right now, and I call you up and say, "Hey, I'm interested in bringing you into the senior team. What are some things that I can expect from you if you come into that team? If I'm looking to take you and replace someone else, what can I expect from you?"
As a footballer,
as football as a person, as being a part of the whole setup?
As a footballer, you would expect a great footballer, an amazing footballer. No, let me stop. You'd expect a good technical player, someone who knows the game, reads the game well, knows how to handle the ball. A good footballer, works hard, knows what he's doing, and as I'm very confident. So around like the group, I would talk, I would get around people, I'd just be, just fun to be around, just talk to everyone.
How are you with adaptability? So you're learning maybe one way there. You come to Bermuda, you're part of our setup. Things are a little different than what you're used to. How good are you at buying into what the process is and being able to adapt to our style?
I've played for a lot of coaches and a lot of different teams, and everyone's style is different. You just have to play what the coach wants, or else you won't play. Simple as that. So, if you want to play, you do what the coach says. If you don't want to play, then you do your own thing and you sit on the bench.
And obviously, you've learned that through your times in being around professional setups. But how about as adaptive as playing out of position for a particular game to negate the other team's strength?
I played in many positions, loads of different. Played in wing, played center mid, and played number 10. Not up top. I've played up top. So any attacking position, I can play most positions.
You even got Maceo coming to your house to get you out of punishment at 7 years old. So he must he all he wanted to do was win,
Yeah.
right, Maceo?
No, I enjoyed his football. I actually absolutely enjoyed it. It made my Saturday. That's what it was. It really made my Saturday. I mean, I used to play him in different positions even at that time. And of course, he didn't like it because he wanted to score goals, you know. But he made my Saturday. It was enjoyable to watch the beautiful game. Yeah. So I had to politic with his parents all the time to keep out of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Najai, a question for you. Yeah, you've been exposed to a professional environment and you're seeing things and I appreciate the maturity because I remember the first time your dad brought you to North Village. You actually cried out to hold you up in my arms to get you to play. You know, but you're definitely mature. What do we need to do here in Bermuda to prepare ourselves better? For players like yourself.
Um, I say research. If you research and if you see what people out here are doing, well, this is good because you're asking what I'm doing. But if you like research, ask other coaches that out here in academies or whatever, like what they do. Maybe you can replicate, or you can take some ideas from them and use it into something different and change in however you feel. Um, yeah, and yeah, like players like me, it's good to listen to them because they're living it and they know what they're going through it, so they would know what they're talking about. So it's good to listen to them and see what they have to say. Whatever, it's good to help the player, whatever benefits the player, which makes him feel comfortable, which will get the best out of him, will be the best option.
Coach Keita?
Yes. Any advice you would give to a young player? You may have covered some of it just now, but any advice you would give to a young player who is trying to make it? Because obviously you guys as over there, you are an inspiration to a lot of young players in Bermuda.
I would say just keep working hard, keep working at your game. You can always get better. You can never be the best. You can always improve on something. So just keep working hard, keep trying. In Bermuda, I'd say try to come out as soon as possible if you want to make it. If you want to be a professional footballer, you would have to. Oh, it's not really on you, but that you'd have to. Your family would need to make a sacrifice to move. It's not easy said than done, but that's a big step. You have to sacrifice a lot in order to have to keep working hard. You used to sacrifice things. If you get an opportunity, then take it.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time spending with us here on the Island Stats Football Show, and we wish you well for the remainder of the season. Hopefully, you can break into that Burnley first team to help them stay up. Yet another Bermudian in a Burnley strip, but no, you're carrying the flag by yourself. So, season's greetings, all the best,
Thank you.
and we'll stay in touch with you. Okay.
Yeah. See you later.
Alrighty. We'll be back with more of the Island Stats Football Show after this message from our sponsor.
Every resident of Bermuda deserves to spend their final days with dignity. They also deserve access to privacy for themselves and their loved ones. Although Agape House has lovingly wrapped its arms around thousands of patients and their families, it can no longer meet the needs of our community. There is an urgent need for a new facility, and we need your help to make that happen. Donate today by going to agiftforagape.com or calling 232-0859. Help give Agape House a new home. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Welcome back. Well, guys, we've heard from two young men who are playing their trade in the professional world of football over in the UK. And, you know, when we start to listen to what they have been saying, their message kind of is the same, not only to the young players, but to their families about sacrifice. Your thoughts, Maceo?
Yeah, I mean, the first thought is the maturity that these young boys are showing, based on the football and the sporting education that they have. They're learned the intensity of the pressure environment. So it validates, for me, it validates a lot of the thought processes that I've had over the years about creating intensity. Like in this country, the intensity that I come with has always been deemed to be negative. It's always to prepare us for something that's bigger than what we understand in this country. So those boys validate what it looks like to use sports as a vehicle to grow themselves. So I'm very proud of those boys in what they're doing, because I know them from kids. I know Remy from birth. I know Najai from birth, and I know what their pathway looks like. Another big thing that Najai said is that we as coaches, we as people that deliver the game in the game of football here in Bermuda need to expose ourselves to how other people are delivering it. So we learn how to deliver it better for the better players, because those are the better players. So we have to learn how to deliver the game better. I actually know, and I get criticized, I know that we're not delivering the game the best that the game could be delivered here locally. We could do better how we deliver the game, whether it be coaching, whether it be the structure, whether more the holistic piece of it, because we have a talent. We have a serious talent in this country that's capable of being recognized in places like the UK. But we have to learn how to deliver the game better to meet their needs, versus do we come down on her and they adjust to where we are, or do we raise our standard? So that's what I take from interacting with these boys, and also me going out there and seeing different things, how they deliver the game. And we're on that journey. We're on that journey, and the word that comes out is being inclusive and being humble enough to learn from somebody that knows how to deliver the game better than we do. And I'll leave this last piece. In my journey in football, I mean, everybody knows my local journey. You know, being part of North Village, the Triple Crown, or the youth trophies that I've won. When I went in the professional environments over the years, I realized that 40 or 35 years old, what I knew about football coaching, their coaches at 18 knew that. They knew that at 18 years old. So they're going to learn more from that. And it's because of exposure. It's because of the exposure that they're here, and humbleness to grow themselves. So we have to be a lot more humble than we're being. And we have to be a lot more open to learn from people that are actually done stuff, versus how we think about doing it.
Coach Keita?
So on that point, you know, I will piggyback on Maceo's point about the coaches and him saying what he learned at 35, coaches at 18. And so one of the things that I'm, you know, really going to be pushing for, or have started pushing for, is my players, my under 17s, even starting their coaching badges, starting to get their coaching licenses now while they're still playing. I, like Maceo, I didn't do any of that until I finished playing. I think about how much further I would be in my coaching education had I started a lot sooner. How much better, even as a player, I would have been if I had to see the game from a coach's perspective more than I did as a player's perspective. What I appreciate about Najai's statement with regards to being laid back and working hard is that a lot of times in Bermuda, we're kind of stuck because we only have so many really good players that, yeah, they are going to make the team. At some point, it is result based, right? You can work at the development stages and say, you know what, you may think you're good, but if you're not bringing that hard working mentality, I'm not picking you. I'm not taking you. I'm going to take someone who's working hard. But obviously, as it gets higher up the chain or up the pyramid, you have to start picking those players because it's result based. Right now, with the women's side, I can speak to that. We have 43 girls to choose from at the senior level. That's never ever been the case. It's the first time ever. We have 43 senior women to choose from. So it's not going to be a time to be laid back. Everybody's fighting for positions. And Vance, Aaron, and myself, we sat down the other night and we looked at the names and we put in a number of positions. So for instance, we could possibly have 13 girls trying to make one position. So that the more we breed or the more we get players that are playing at a higher level, I think our players are not going to have a choice but to step up their game and to fight every time they get on that field to train. It's a lot to do with character, but again, I can't say it enough that we have been punching above our weight, and a lot of times is because our local players have put in some work. I had a meeting with the senior coaches the other night, and Kyle said, we know we have the overseas players, but really the local players were in better shape. So it kind of goes to Mace's point that locally we have it. We do have it. Now it's nurturing it correctly and it's getting the best out of these players. So, right now Bermuda's in a really good spot where we're getting the best. Both locally, we're getting more out of our players, especially at the national level. I can't really speak domestically too much. I can just speak with my national coaches hat on, both on the male and the female side. So, this is boding well, and I love to see these young people and just hear them speak. I too have known Remy since birth, and just to watch the young man that he is becoming. Just being in the Remy was quiet, he was shy, but to just be in front of the camera and to speak so clearly, speak so maturely, it's really good to see. And I just want more and more of our young people, girls and boys, to get that exposure and have that experience, because there's a lot of football to be played. With this new women's setup, there's so much football to be played. It's decades of football. This is no more, I'm preparing for the next World Cup and I'm going to play matches in the first round, qualify and play 3 matches and I'm done for another 4 years. It's now football. So it's such an exciting time for football for us as Bermudians, because I 100% agree with Mason that we have so much talent on this island. It's just getting the best out of it.
Maceo, I'm going to ask you this, and then Keita, you won't have the same problem, I don't think, Keita, with the females. But Maceo, how do we keep the males on island that much focused if some of them in the back of their minds believe that the team will be made up, the national team will be made up of guys overseas, and they stand no chance of getting in the team, regardless whether the coach says, I want you guys to be a part, I want you guys to stay involved. How do we motivate those guys to stay involved?
So that question is a good question, but that question starts from at 5 years old. To answer that question, you have to think of a kid from 5 years old, because as Najai said it, if you try to come out to the UK at 18, it's actually no chance of us. So our international football is in the world is like that. If you've been here locally, to adapt to that level of international football is very, very difficult. So it's a more long-term journey and starts at 5 years old. And I'll give you this. probably about 12 years ago, and we're talking about laid back. We know a culture where laid back. So it's always baffled me how not to shout at the kid at 5, 6 years old to get them to work harder, or 10 years old to get them to work harder. Because I was losing my voice in training. I was getting a headache talking too much, and it's like, how do I do better? So I went to Everton, and I realized Everton's U8 teams were training with heart rate monitors. So at 8 years old, these kids were coming out off the field with technology and plugged in their heart rate monitor, and they was battling each other who's working the hardest. And the coach had to say nothing. So they used technology to make this kid work harder. I proposed that to my local club at the time, which is North Village, and it was like I was speaking Spanish. So these are the things that are available that we can use to build our kids from the early age. So when they get up into 16, 17, they're at a good level. So they'll know for themselves the opportunity exists, because they'll know for themselves they're at a good enough level to be able to break into a national team. Because truthfully, we did that before. The Meshach Wades, the Shrieker Adams, Dwayne Allen, he broke into the national team at 16 years old because he was at a good enough level, to break in that national team. So it gets back to answer that question, it gets back to us coaches, us people that facilitate football, to know how to facilitate it better, to learn how to facilitate better, to take our talented player and grow him holistically, that has got a chance at 16, 17, 18 years old.
What you're referring to, Maceo, is something that we need to do post 13 years from now, or 10 years from now.
We didn't start a plan.
Right. But what I'm talking about is the player today. How are we going to keep these guys who are currently playing in our Premier and First Division that could possibly be in the team? How do we keep them and show them that, look, we've had players from playing local football that made the national team, that played in the Gold Cup, that played Nation League, played all of that.
Yeah. I don't think, I feel for Coach Carl Lightbourne, right? I feel for the national coaches, because realistically, if a player hasn't left Bermuda now by the time he's 18, if he's still in Bermuda at 18 or past 18 and he hasn't got any international exposure, the challenges and the difficulty of him being included in a national team is very slim. Girls are different, because you're bringing them up. Look what Keita's saying. Keita's actually bringing girls up from 10 years old. She's bringing girls up from 10 years old to be compatible in her national team at a senior. So looking around Bermuda and the local football, I think that there is 1 to 5% of a player that's still playing locally that is capable of commanding a spot in our national team. And that's realistic. I mean, I watched every coach is going to the international player. The last 5 coaches going to the international player, and that's growing bigger and bigger. So it's not a quick fix that's going to happen right now today. It's not.
But the fact that we did have local based players playing in the national team in the last 2 major events that we played in, doesn't that give somebody locally?
We had what, 3 that were able to command spots. We had Dante that switched from what do you name, Brangman. We had Dante Brangman that switched from a midfielder, because he gets away with playing field for Rangers, to a right back. We had 2 left backs at overseas that we needed 2 left backs to get through one game. We had those left backs were continuing to be substituted. But if we had that national team was made up of 90% of overseas players. So it's a difficult. I get it. It's difficult because they're just not playing at that intensity and that speed. I mean, so it's very difficult to
Coach
have a player locally.
I know you don't have that much of that particular problem, but it's starting to grow, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sitting and I'm thinking and I'm saying, I played mini minors. I played with North Village at mini minors, and I played at minors, but like our youth leagues are not competitive either. So I'm on that. I'm
Exactly.
on that fighting for position. So our young people know that I'm gonna play every weekend. I'm gonna play. I'm not really gonna make the team. I'm not really gonna get any better. I'm going to play every weekend. And then I believe it's at under 13s it becomes competitive. Am I
Something
correct?
like that, yeah.
At under 13 it becomes
Yeah.
competitive, and now we're gonna end up losing players because like they haven't. How do we develop that competitive nature? Is that at middle school is when they start being competitive. You know what I mean? So it's like it, it it's difficult because I understand why it's done, right? I understand why it's done, but coaches maybe have to have a better conversation with, here's some of the things that you need to work on, and I think we could develop a lot more players. I think a lot of players came out, and they so said at Acres last week's show how players are bored now. We got a lot more players coming out of and being eligible to play for the national team. And I think the national team was a lot more competitive, even in the Elliot Jennings. And, I didn't see many national teams when my dad was playing. But when you watch those people play, like that was good football, good competitive, hard working football. So, there are some things to keep guys interested in playing. And you're saying those overseas players keeping them interested, yeah?
No, local players.
That was keeping the local players.
The local players.
For me, I find sometimes the local players give up too easily. We give players an easy out. And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of times it's parents and the people on the outside that give these people an easy out. Instead of that mama saying, you didn't make it this time, you go back and you work harder. Force the coach to pick you. But again, it's that laid back mentality, like, oh, well, they're only gonna pick so-and-so anyway, or they're only gonna pick so-and-so anyway, and then they give up. So I didn't, because you're getting games now. Like I know me, Vance and Aaron, we have a tough field. We got a tough battle. We gotta find 23 out of 43. Right? So there are gonna be some people that understand that they're not ready for it, but there are gonna be some people that's gonna be like, how did she make it over me? And not even try. We may have our first lot of games and you didn't make that one. But when we come back, training pool opens up, you're still a part of the training pool. Do you come back? Or do you say, I didn't get picked the first time? And that's a lot of it. Fight for a position. Just like, so think about those boys over there playing for their club teams. But they don't get picked this weekend, they quit? No. They go back the next training session and they fight harder to try to take someone's spot. And so I think there's a lot to do with the individual. There's too many extrinsically motivated people here. And that's the reality. A lot of guys are not playing football because of the love for the game. And once you have a love for the game, you're going to fight. You're going to go hard, and I think that is the only way these guys will stay involved. Take the personal out of it. It's not personal. You're not getting selected because the coach doesn't like you. that's and I mean, definitely not on my thing. I used to get accused of favoritism. My favorite players are the ones that work hard and want to play for the badge. So, it's that part. The player has to. We could do everything that we want, but if the player doesn't have that passion and that desire to represent this country, then there's only so much we can do.
And you know what? I want to end on that night because that's a strong, positive message to anybody that's looking to make the national team, set up both male and female, that if you want a spot, fight for it. Don't just throw it away and say, the coach don't like me, or the coach don't want to pick me because I play for this club and so forth, which is a big thing in Bermuda. We got a lot of that talk and a lot of that behavior. But if you think you're good enough to make the national team, force the coach to pick you.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
All right.
We'll be back next week with another edition of the Island Stats Football Show. Enjoy your weekend, guys. I mean, well, not your weekend. Enjoy Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Please be safe.
All right.